Picture post, Hulton's National Weekly, 16th of February 1952. It's a big one and it measures 10 by 13 inches. It's staple bound. It's got about 54 pages and it is wonderful. It's one of them junk shop finds. I love it. It's just packed full of amazing images and stuff. 1952, it's got the Queen Mother on here. And I think the significance of having the Queen Mother, as we know the Queen Mother in England, it was the edition just after George VI died. And I think it's showing her now on her own. It's really interesting. It's full of some amazing photography for 1952. And I just want to show you it. I thought it was amazing find. And I've got a few of them and I'm just going to use the channel to sort of go through them and let people have a look at them. So it was worth about, at the time, 6D, which in today's value is about 80p, 78p. At its peak, this was selling 1.5, 2 million at its peak. Up the front here, so you may have seen this Hulton National Weekly. The history to that, roughly, is that when the magazine folded in around 1950s, 1957, Sir Edward Hulton, who was the owner, sold it to the BBC, and it became, I think, the BBC Hulton Picture Library, and then it was sold again, I think, to Brian Deutsch, and then something like Getty bought about, I think, 96, and there's something like 15 million photographs from the British Archive and all of that sort of stuff. So it's a bit of vague history, but there's some insight into that Hulton's National. It's really important in the history of photography and press photography, that name Hulton's. And I think it's like called the Hulton Archive now. Let's have a look. It's amazing. It's got some amazing adverts in here. And look at this. I want to be a real explorer, the Eagle. Alka-Seltzer. So we've got tables of contents. We've got the King's death. First shock of the people's grief, the man who put duty first, long live the Queen, a king of his people. And then we've got Dresses from the Arabian Nights here. Awesome pictures, unbelievable. We've got orchids, earned dollars. Now I think the orchids picture was shot by Peter Keane. Most of the shots in here were by Bert Hardy. There was a few shots by Slim Hewitt or Charles Harry Hewitt. And then there's a couple of other photographers. There's some amazing photography in here which is not even credited to some of the photographers, but we'll go through it. Just take note of the adverts, man, they're amazing. And you could see colour was creeping in. It's very black and white. I think in this period, especially after the war, colour was starting to feature more, colouring of adverts and stuff. These sort of drawings and colour drawings were much big part of advertising and stuff, and it was just about this period where colour advertising photography was starting to take hold. And some of it's in here and it's stunning, it's absolutely amazing. So we got Churchill and Attlee here. So we've got the first shot, the King is dead. So this was about 1952, and it's just showing the reaction on the streets. I can't find the credit for this, but I presume it's come from numerous sources. Humphrey Spender, all these sort of people like Peter Keane, Slim and Bert Hardy, all part of it. The editor at the time, I think, of this was a chap called Tom Hopkinson. He was the editor at the time. I'm pretty much sure he was. And here you've got the life, the man who put duty first. You've got that, all that sort of the crest and just the regency of it all, and it's amazing. Look at this, it's stunning. It's very different to the way the royal family is portrayed now. You don't sort of get this insight, do you? It's very rare. You just see them standing at a balcony a lot of the time, or walking through hospitals and stuff like that where everybody's lined up. You very rarely see this in this side of it, you know. It's all sort of really relaxed. Look how close that is. Different time, I guess, different era. But like I said, there's no credits on here to the photographers. It's just fascinating. So I guess this is just charting the life and his sort of roles as what he was. It says hobby for private moments, prizes for public occasions, relaxation at regatta, welcome of all friends, laughs with the staff at Windsor, and the filial kiss at the festival. And that's, I think, who we know as the Queen Mother, the Queen's mum. And that's sort of charting his sort of time, and then the family man, and then his time through the war and the Blitz and stuff like that. And there's the Queen, and there's Winston Churchill there. And then that's the Remembrance Sunday. They're stunning, aren't they? And you remember this period, like with black and white, and I think when we looked at Humphrey Spender's pictures from the late 30s to what we know now in terms of sensitivity and clarity, it's very much different then in the final result from a negative. And I guess also due to the newsprint style publication, they look a little bit washed, but you know, regardless of that, they're amazing. And then you come right to the end, and then you've got God Save the Queen there. This is amazing. So I think you got some quotes here. It says, "The King of his people," on page 26. And it's just like different quotes from, I think, his speeches and stuff like that. In Christmas 1947, many listeners like myself are spending today at home with their families and friends. May God grant that the spirit of goodwill which brightens those homes today may spread from them until the fullness of time it changes the face of the world. Quite poignant. And then you got like air raid speeches and stuff like that. But this, look at this. How stunning are them? I cannot find a credit for the photographer. I'm going to bring this down because it's just 1952. I'm learning stuff every time I look at this. It's just, it's square format. I presume it's medium format. It certainly looks medium format. Obviously it's square, but just wait to see these. How beautiful are them? You know, looking through my LCD at this looks like something I could be looking in Vogue magazine or something like that now. They're so beautiful. They do have that softness about them, but I guess that's, as I've just said, it's the state of technology and both printing and in the film quality. But they're just so lovely. You can see it's quite full on flash. You can see it in the wood there. Wood panelling's not the easiest thing to photograph on. I tell you, it's very reflective. You might not think it when you're taking pictures with wood panelling, but it's so reflective. It's unforgiving. There's quite a lot of direct flash there. You can see the sort of shadows and stuff, but it's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It's like 70 years ago, man. And it's just associating colour photography with the 50s. Now this is Peter Keen's work. Now Peter Keen, he was a freelance, I think obviously in the 50s. I'm not sure if he shot these. Well, these are beautiful. Look at them. These are like orchids. And then it's got Orchids Earn Dollars, photographs by Peter Keen. Peter Keen went on to be the Observer staff photographer a bit after this. And then he became the art editor for the Observer. And then Sunday Times. And then I think he used to freelance for the Daily Telegraph up till about 1974. Pictures are great. Look at that. I'll just bring it down again. Check these out. 1952. So you've got establishing type shots, really great composition, brilliant depth of field, lovely natural daylight. But look at these orchids. Fascinating. It's just lovely. It's just thinking of presentation and how you present the work. Look at these fancy borders on it. And then I think 31, 32, 33, yeah. So nothing changes here, like with this title, NATO, the pact that could reshape the West. Fascinating. I haven't read this, which looks really intriguing. It's got the structure of NATO there, the North Atlantic Council and stuff like that. And it's just fascinating. So this is a Bert Hardy shoot, Invaders from the North. I think it's about the geese, what are coming in. Look at this shot here. He shot, I think he shot on the Leica M3, and he was amazing. What a great photographer. He was the chief photographer as well. I think he went on and became the chief photographer. And these pictures, it's just, I can see the influence later on in a lot of the sort of magazines and stuff. This is amazing. We just don't get this anymore, do we? We don't get this sort of insight into things anymore. Not the way we used to. Photojournalism, you know, it's amazing. Look at that, it's just stunning. So this is another Bert Hardy shoot, Sanders of the River 1952. This article's about this guy, which I can see is quite obvious. And this chap here is a guy called John Simpson Owen, and at the time was covering the land, setting up the national parks, trying to, I think, help with the infrastructure and the conservation of the areas and looking and assessing it. And he's a very important guy in Africa in terms of developing economy and with like wildlife tourism and just conservation and stuff in Africa. And I guess this is his journey when he started. It's amazing to sort of get the beginnings of this. Look at these, man. Bert Hardy was such a good photographer. He really, really was. I just jumped that up a little bit. Look at this. So much vision. Almost painting-like, you know, they're beautiful. And he's shooting this with a Leica as well. I presume he is. He's shooting it with a Leica all the time. It's beautiful. Look at this. He's such a great photographer. This is a guy called Charles H Hewitt. Slim Hewitt, I think it was called. So I don't really know much about Charles Hewitt. I know he became a television cameraman later on. In terms of photography, I don't know a lot about his work. This is called bat watching. In fact, Bert Hardy ended up giving up the photography world and became a farmer later on in life. It's fascinating. How difficult must that have been to shoot? Incredible. This is bat watching. I don't know where it is. The style of writing is really interesting. I think it's in the Pyrenees. Some interesting pictures. It's like them old encyclopedias you open as a kid. Graphic details and diagrams and stuff. It's really fascinating. Look at that shot. It's lovely. Let's just jump down on that. And then there's a set of pictures by Stephen Hendy. I don't know anything about Stephen Hendy. And you've got an advert for Lilliput magazine or book or whatever it was. And then he's sort of getting the end of the stories, which is quite interesting. So this is the invader story. Look at that shot. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. That's another Bert Hardy there. That's the end of that, the geese hunting thing. And you got here, you got lots of adverts, some more colour. And again, the ending, the bat watching's ending there, and the NATO pact's ending there. It's really interesting how they do that. So yeah, it's just a lovely little insight, really. The reader's letters. Crossword hasn't been done. I just thought I'd share it with you. I just think it's something many people will not get to see. It's quite straightforward, but it's full of amazing adverts. Wake Up Your Liver Bile is there. It's full of amazing adverts, but more importantly, it's full of some legends in photography. And for 78p equivalent now, it's a beautiful insight into 50s way of thinking and lifestyle and technology. And I'm pleased to share it with you. I've got a lot more. I'm just going to share them and I'll waffle along and talk about them. Hopefully it'll just give you some opening into some of the picture posts. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Please share the channel. Please share the picture post. Show some of Bert Hardy's work and Slim Hewitt's. And thank you.